Steve Teel, Very Bold Radio and Podcast. What an exciting day. What an exciting day. We've got author Ashley Schaller and her debut book, R.E.M. Ashley, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, but this is not about me. This is about you. Now, I want people who are listening or who are catching this on video later to know that we are actually recording this the day before R.E.M. drops, before everybody can read your book, get it at Amazon, get it at Barnes & Noble, do whatever they want to get their hands on this book. So how surreal must this feel for you?
It is a strange feeling. So for those who don't know, it's taken 7.5 years to get to this point. So I decided that long ago that I wanted to be a published author. And so now to be here, it's like, oh, wow, this is really happening.
7.5 years.
Yes.
Wow. So anybody who picks up your book and they read it and they're like, oh man, this girl just published this book. This is amazing. It's actually quite a process.
Very much so.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the background of how you decided you came up with this amazing story, these amazing characters. By the way, for those who are watching or listening, I did get to read R.E.M. over the weekend. Really enjoyed it. You are so creative and you're an excellent writer. And I want to, before you tell us about it, I want to read some of the blurbs that you have from other authors. And I really like, it's just awesome stuff. I'm looking for the one that says, oh yeah, here it is. Inception meets Rise of the Guardians meets Sandman. This is the book I've been yearning for since high school. It has everything a reader can ask for: an intriguing world, lovable characters, fast-paced, nonstop action. I can guarantee you're going to have a hard time reading it in more than one sitting. And that is editor and author of 20 award-winning books, Hope Bollinger. Do you know how to say her name?
I believe it's Bollinger.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Hope, if you're watching. Yeah, so that is quite, and I have several other ringing endorsements, but I just love that thing. Inception meets Rise of the Guardians meets Sandman. And man, I think she did a great job of just nailing what you did.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us about some of the origin of how you came up with this amazing idea and just tell us about some of the process?
Yeah, so two important things to note.
Yeah.
Is one, I was homeschooled, and that allowed me to take some really creative writing classes for school. Yeah. And one of those is called the 1-Year Adventure Novel. And so I took this curriculum in high school. I fell in love with writing more just as a hobby. So that's kind of what it stayed for a while.
Okay.
So there's that side of things.
I love it.
As a teenager, I went through this phase where I had these really terrible nightmares. Every night became scared to fall asleep.
Oh.
And it was a really hard time for me.
Wow.
And gradually over time, I would just pray before I went to bed. I'm like, Lord, just please be with me as I sleep. And all of a sudden, there was this character in my dreams every night. True story. And he was different every time, looked different character, but he always felt the same. So every time I knew if I fell asleep, he was going to be there. And so gradually the dreams lessened in intensity, and then they weren't every night. And then as soon as the dreams were gone, he was gone, and I've never seen him since. I swear he was a guardian angel. Of course, I have no proof.
Right.
In that experience, R.E.M. was born.
Wow, that is a crazy backstory.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I can't even fathom that. So this was a difficult time in your life when you were having nightmares and you did not even want to go to sleep.
No, I'm the teenager and afraid to turn the light off at night.
Sure.
And they were intense, very dark dreams.
Wow. And you started to pray and ask for God to help you.
Oh, for sure.
and then this character shows up in your dreams and it's different I mean, that just blows me away.
Right? It's like unbelievable, but it's true.
Right. Oh no,
Yeah.
I totally believe you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And now today, are you pretty nightmare free?
Nightmare free. I almost never dream anymore, to be honest.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
like it's a weird thing. I mean, it was for a season and then now it's gone and not afraid to fall asleep anymore.
Yeah. All right. Amazing backstory. So then at a certain point, when did you decide, okay, I can turn that concept into a book? A lot of people might have run away from that. Like that was
Yeah,
a dark time and don't want to remember it and relive it, but
right.
not
And
you.
yeah, for sure. I mean, for a while I didn't never wanted to talk about it, just wanted to forget about it. And then of all things, my sister has like a ballerina ornament. And I saw this ornament hanging on the Christmas tree one day.
Wow.
And like, oh, what if? And so I started connecting the dots. I'm like, what if there was this character who does ballet? And then like just the whole dream guardian, all like inspiration from those dark dreams came together. And I don't know, that's how stories are made. You take two random things and put them together.
Wow. Okay. So, and you started writing this then again? How, I mean, what year would that be? 7.5 years ago?
So I wrote it. So this was not my first book that I wrote. It's actually my third, but I started
This is your, wait,
first published book.
how old are you now?
I'm 24.
You're 24. And so you've written 3 books going way back to when you were like 16 or 17
Yeah,
years old.
yeah.
Ashley, that's crazy. So this is your third book, first
Yeah,
published.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I think if I'm remembering correctly, I wrote the first draft of R.E.M in early 2017, I think it was.
Wow.
Like January, February.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you are a teen author.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now you've just got me curious about your other books. Are they similar sort of
So
genre or?
yeah, so they are young adult fantasy, still a little more on the fantasy side, where they are very much set in like their own worlds and stuff.
Okay. All right. Okay. I got it. And talk to me about people that might be watching. Something I've seen just in the marketing material and everything is this is clean young adult fiction.
Yeah.
Explain some of that.
Well, so I don't know how much you've been paying attention to like general market young adult books lately, but more and more adult content is coming into those.
Okay.
And so my goal as an author and my publisher's goal is to put out clean fiction where you can give it to your teen and you don't have to worry about content. Basically, the highest rating you would ever see from a Quill and Flame, which is my publisher, the highest rating you would see is like PG-13, like if you were to go to watch a movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. So that's very assuring for parents that are looking for, or teens that are looking for good, clean books that they can read and enjoy. And yet, just as these blurbs, these endorsements say, here's another one I want to read. And this is from Jenna Therese, maybe. Sorry, Jenna. Jenna Therese, young adult author of Ignite. She says, R.E.M is a story full of emotion, adventure, and high stakes. A story that will not only make you fall in love with the characters, but may also make you crave a coffee. R.E.M is a beautiful story with a fantastic and unexpected ending. All right, Ashley, tell us about now just about the premise, the book, R.E.M. I mean, the characters. Tell us about it.
So R.E.M is a young adult thriller about a girl who goes
Thriller.
best friend's dreams to save her from her nightmares. And it
Okay.
follows Gwendolyn Gonzalez throughout this dream sequence as she fights to save her best friend Macy.
Okay. All right. Tell us about the inspiration for Gwen.
Funny story.
Okay.
Gwen was never meant to be the main character.
What?
She was only ever going to be like this character on the side that had maybe one or two scenes. Originally, it was going to be from Macy's point of view.
Wow.
And of course, this is only when I was like plotting it. But then I was starting to kind of outline, okay, who's Gwen? She's Macy's friend, all of this stuff. I'm like, Gwen's an interesting character. I wonder what happens if I put her as the main character. And so from there, she just kind of took over.
Wow, that is crazy. So this story was going to look totally different.
It was.
Wow. Okay. And everything is mind-boggling. We're not giving any spoilers or anything, but there are some really fun is the right word, just twists and things that are unexpected throughout this book. So I'm not going to give anything away, but that's really just fascinating to imagine. Okay.
It was a whole different story.
Yeah. What was it about Gwen that kind of drew you to telling it through her? What about her character?
I can't really explain it, to be honest. I was just like outlining her different personality traits and like her hobbies. And like, you're just so interesting to me. I'm not even sure exactly what clicked, but something did.
As you were creating her different traits, describe some of those traits for us of Gwen.
Well, so I was on Pinterest just looking for character inspiration. I like just finding random photos. I'm like, oh, you could be a character. What would you be like? I stumbled across this picture of a girl. She's playing the drums and she's got almost a little bit of a rock feel to her. I'm like, oh, you're interesting. You'd be Macy's friend. And then as I'm outlining it, I'm like, imagining her family, and she's got these brothers and sisters, and like her mom's a nurse, her dad's deployed. I'm like, all these things. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, okay. And like she's got a little bit of sass to her, and I always love a heroine with a little bit of sass.
Right. I love it. Yeah, she's got a good healthy amount of sass. I love it. All right. How would you describe like the love interest part of the story? How do you describe that, Ashley?
Well, sweet, clean romance. I always like to preference that because everyone has kind of their different idea of what romance is. So it's
Okay.
sweet, clean, just to throw that out there. But yeah, Solomon's just fun. Like he came to my imagination wearing a white lab coat. That's never changed. I don't know why he wears one. He just says it's just because, and that's it. And he just loves coffee, which is interesting because Gwen hates it. And so they have some fun scenes where they're just kind of debating, is coffee that good or not?
Right. I love it. Well, tell us more about Solomon. I mean, he just came to you and you see this lab coat and then he is just developed. Tell us about
honest. Yeah, he just came wearing a white lab coat, and then I'm like, okay, who are you? He's like, I'm a dream guardian. I'm like, okay, what's a dream guardian? And so just outlining these different things. He's a little bit rebellious. He doesn't like following the rules, and yet he cares deeply about those around him.
Right. I love it. All right. How did you decide? I don't think I'm giving anything away. He has this British accent. How does that come?
I've just always liked British accents. So when you're a writer, you can just give some of your preferences to your characters.
I love it. Okay. Well, tell me, this blurb that I read about Inception meets Rise of the Guardians meets Sandman. What does that mean to you when you hear that?
So that was a really cool moment because I've always, just in the back of my mind, wanted R.E.M to be like Inception. And I don't think I ever told anybody that.
Yeah.
So when I get this blurb and she uses Inception, I'm like, oh my goodness, I did it. I didn't even tell anyone that was my goal, and somehow I achieved it. And then Rise of the Guardians has always been one of my favorite movies. It's just cute. It's fun. I'm not as familiar with Sandman, so I'll trust Hope's judgment on that one. You can see those combos. It was a big moment of, oh wow.
That's really cool. What a compliment to exactly what you said, just that you've accomplished it. All right, I want to hear a little bit about how Quill and Flame, like, in some ways you're going to be seen as like an overnight success, even though we know who are listening and watching that this is a 7.5 year process so far. But how did you get with your publisher, Quill and Flame? Because it seems like at that point, the things kind of moved a little bit quickly. Tell us about
Oh,
that.
yeah. So, a lot of the story starts with, it was just an ordinary day. Ordinary day, I'm sitting on my couch, I'm scrolling through Instagram, and then a couple authors I follow, they were just posting about this publishing house, and I'm like, I've never heard about this. So I went and I checked, and it's a romance publisher at this point. I'm like, I don't really write romance. Everything I write has like maybe a small like note of romance in it, but I don't know if I would be qualified to call myself a romance writer. So I was a little iffy. I was like, I
Okay.
don't think this is the right fit.
Yeah.
And then like two more authors I follow posted about it. I'm like, okay, what's the harm in trying, right? I wasn't
Right.
really expecting much from this. So I submit, I think what their guidelines are, you have to submit like the first 3 chapters, a query letter, which is basically, hi, this is what my book's about. These are my qualifications as a writer. I hope you might find it interesting. And then a synopsis, which it's like a 1-page that basically summarizes the book from beginning to end.
Okay.
So I submit all of this, and I'm not really not expecting anything. I
Yeah.
mean, romance publisher. So I kind of just, submit,
Yeah.
forget about it. And then a couple weeks later, I get a request, like, can we see the full manuscript?
Wow.
That was an exciting moment. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, here. So I submit that. Again, I'm still like, oh, they're going to read more. They're going to realize I'm not a romance writer, right? So another couple weeks go by, and again, ordinary day. I'm on Instagram, and I get a message from the publisher saying how much they were enjoying it. They start to ask questions about like marketing goals, just like different goals for the book.
Okay.
And so, I'm answering these, and like I tell my mom, I think this is going really well. I don't think I've ever reached this stage before.
Wow.
And so at this point, I'm getting hopeful. I'm like, okay, something might be happening here. I think it was like 1 week later to the day of that Instagram message chat. I went grocery shopping, ordinary day. I come back, sit down, and checking my email, and there's the contract in my inbox.
Unbelievable. Wow. Okay, talk to me a little pivot from, usually when you hear authors that have reached a certain stage, they talk about the rejection letters that they got first. So how many times did you submit R.E.M, for example? What are we talking about?
Okay, so R.E.M's not the best example.
Oh, okay.
So,
Because you submitted it to one publisher.
I think I submitted it to 3. But the other 2 rejection letters came after I'd signed the contract. So at that point, I'm like, it's okay. I'm good. I've got a contract. So we'll back up to my other 2 manuscripts that
Okay.
are prior to R.E.M. One of them I submitted, I want to say for 5 of the 7.5 years that I've been trying to get published.
Wow.
That one, it was the first, so of course I made a lot of mistakes.
Sure.
First time I queried it, I think it was 30,000 words, and just for everyone who wants to know, that's not a book. I think I queried it to maybe 10 literary agents before I caught on that books were supposed to have like standard word counts kind of per genre. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So eventually I learned, I bumped it up to, I think it turned out to be 95,000. And so that's when I got a little bit more serious. I started really researching, really learning, okay, this is how you query. This is the materials you need, and these are the publishers that take this genre. And so with this book, it was a lot of back and forth. meaning I would submit, they would ask for either more chapters,
Mm,
occasionally the full manuscript. And then it was a lot of, you know what, we love this, but it's not right for us.
okay.
And it was like, oh, we love this. Can you just do these edits and then send it back? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Never got a contract for that one. I did go
Wow.
to pub board once with it, which basically that's the final stage before you get a contract. Everyone at the publishing house sits down, the marketing team has to agree with editors, and everyone has to be on the same page to acquire that book. So I made it there once
Yeah.
and it didn't end up going through. So that was that book. Eventually I had kind of set it aside because I was running out of publishers, to be honest. I'm like, I can only revise it so many times, and
Yeah.
clearly not quite the right timing for this.
Wow.
So I wrote another book during the 2020 lockdown, stay
Your
at home.
ordinary pandemic, just another ordinary day of
Yeah,
pandemic.
or ordinary day. So I wrote another book. And this one, kind of the same story. I would, submit it, and then they'd be like, oh, we like it. It's not right for us. Or, oh, can we see the full manuscript? And then turn around and still not right.
Yeah.
So again, I kind of shelved that one and worked on R.E.M. And then, as I said, I think it was like 3 publishers. I was just like dipping my toes into submitting this R.E.M. one. And I'm like not expecting much because I'm expecting the, back and forth, back and forth.
Right.
Well, and then it was like boom, boom, boom. And, everyone tells you anything in publishing takes months. This did not take months. This was a matter of weeks.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad that you let us know some of the backstory process of the other books, and that it's not just so somebody who's watching, maybe a young person who's like, well, I want to do that. And they just think you just do that. And there it is. Well, let me ask you this, and then I actually am going to ask you to read your selection coming up in just a minute as part of this one recording. But before that, I do want to ask you what kind of advice you might have. Somebody probably is watching and seeing what you're doing, and may have somebody that they know, a daughter or a cousin or sister, or just somebody that's watching thinking, I really do want to do that. So I know you've been in this process for a while. What kind of advice would you have to offer?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I would say 2 things. One is don't be in a rush,
Mm,
because it really takes longer than you think it does to get your manuscript to the point where it's ready.
okay.
And the second piece of advice is don't be afraid to try, because you will learn from mistakes. I mean, my first manuscript submission, I would not recommend that. That didn't go well. 30,000 words, learn kind of what you're getting into.
Okay.
But some authors, they hold on to their work for so long that they never try. And some of the learning, it comes from trying. So
Mm,
don't be afraid. At some point, your manuscript's never going to be perfect. I mean, you absolutely want it to be the best that you can get it, but you'll never know unless you try. So those would probably be my top 2 pieces of advice.
that is fantastic advice, Ashley. That is really good. That is exciting. All right. Before you read a selection for us, you've got the 2 books right over your left shoulder. Yeah, good job. Usually, you point to the wrong one on a Zoom video. Love the cover. Is this all them, or did you have a concept to share with them? How did that work?
So I was asked my opinions on it, and we kind of worked back and forth. Um, I was actually surprised because the day I signed the contract, I was emailed, here's some mock-ups of the cover. This is what we think. And it wasn't quite this, but it was
Wow.
like same eyeball concept, but like with some, I think it was like black before and like had lightning and stuff. So that was a cool moment. It was also the moment I realized, because I love this cover. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But that was the moment I realized that if I'm doing this publishing thing, R.E.M's not just mine anymore.
Mm,
these other people that work at the publishing company, even other readers, once they start reading, they're going to imagine things differently. So I had to give up a little bit of control there. And I love what we ended up on, but it is different than what I had originally imagined in my head.
Right, right. I got you. Okay. All right. All right. Are you ready to read a selection opening
I'm,
of?
yeah, opening page, page and a half.
Okay. All right. Here is Ashley Schaller reading from her debut published novel, R.E.M.
I squeeze my eyes shut and count off the seconds until I reach 60. Then I deliver a good pinch to my thigh through my leggings. Yep, that hurts. I peel my eyes open, but the scene hasn't changed. How I wish I could wake up and discover everything is a dream. It's not. It's not. It's not. The truth echoes through my core with every pulse of my heart. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson still stand beside an open grave, tears turning his nose red and her cheeks black as her mascara runs. A harsh breeze stings my cheeks, effectively drying any tears I could produce. Macy slips her hand into mine, fingers tight around my own, as if I'm all that keeps her from tumbling into that open pit with its reek of fresh earth. I squeeze back with just as much force so she'll know I'm here. I may not be family, but the loss of her brother hits me as hard as if we'd share blood. She offers a wobbly smile before her eyes fix on a point over my shoulder. I turn and follow her gaze. Beck, our other best friend, comes toward us, black ringlets bouncing around her shoulders. Her eyebrows dip low, and her eyes full of softness identical to the downturn of her glossy lips. I slip my hand free from Macy's and turn and step away out of the way so she can hug Beck. They cling to each other while Beck pats Macy's shoulder and murmurs words of comfort. Does she even hear them? They sound like meaningless nonsense to me. How can this hole in my heart ever really get better?
All right. Awesome. Need my studio audience to applaud. Boy, excellent, just excellent book, R.E.M. And congratulations on all of it. Is there anything else you just want to say by way of if somebody else came in late to the interview or listening on the radio, just of a brief synopsis or explanation for somebody who's just catching this and is like, what is this book? It's R.E.M. by Ashley Schaller. Anything else you just want to add about that?
I can read the back cover copy for anyone who wants to
Sure. Let's
hear
hear
it.
it. Let's hear it.
Gwendolyn Gonzalez would do anything for her best friend, even allow herself to be dragged through Macy's dreams by a British coffeeholic who claims to be Macy's dream guardian. The rules of the dream are simple: blend in and don't die. When Macy's dreams take a turn for the worse, following the rules may be harder than it seems, and it may end in deadly consequences.
Wonderful. Awesome job, Ashley. Great job. All right. I'm thinking, I just want to make sure if there's any other question, anything else that comes to your mind that you want to share with us?
I just want to give everyone a huge thank you. I've had so much support throughout this whole journey, and I'm excited for everyone to get to read R.E.M.
Yeah. Tell me real briefly, or as long as you want to take, when you talk about support, what does that look like?
Well, my family's always been hugely supportive. I've heard stories of writers who were never ever like encouraged or like
Yeah.
their fans shocked when they actually get their book published, but it's never been that story for me. I think it was my dad actually who read that first book I was talking about, and he's like, "I think you could do something with this."
Good.
That's really what spurred me into researching and starting this journey, and every step of the way. I mean, they've been with me through every rejection, and there's been plenty of those, and then they've just been so excited with the release of REM.
As you are now a published author, often what seems to happen is, man, you're a published author. They give you like a card that says published author and you can show it around. Just kidding about that part. But sometimes then what happens is people come back to your first two books and say, oh, well, we'd really like to take a look at that again. So what does it feel like for you with those first two books? Are they going to come back to life, or are you just going to move on to another book?
Well, I haven't quite decided yet. There's definitely a possibility that we would circle back to the first two. They probably need some edits at this
Sure.
point. I feel like I've grown since writing them, so they would definitely need some help getting to R.E.M's point.
Okay.
Um, but also have written two new novels since R.E.M. So,
What? Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
and one of those I'm hoping to pitch to my publisher soon. So we'll see. Nothing concrete to talk about at the moment, but there are definitely other things in the works.
Oh my gosh, that is really exciting. That is really exciting. Okay, all right. Well, this is man, just been awesome just celebrating what you're doing and this great accomplishment with R.E.M. It really is a fun, entertaining book, and it is a lot of action, just as all your endorsements have said, and with some just great twist and everything that you just, you want to see how this is going to end. You're just invested in the characters and excited. And I just love what you did with all of it, with all the twist and everything. So just congratulations. We're real excited for Ashley Schaller, and people can go to ashleyschaller.com to find more information, to find all the links to order. Is there anything else, social media, you want people to know about for Instagram or Facebook or anything?
So yeah, Instagram's probably the best way to connect with me if you want to. It's also one of the first places I put out any updates. So if you want to be in the know, go to Instagram at Ashley Schaller Author and just give me a follow and you'll be in the know.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, again, congratulations and thank you so much, Ashley, for being a part of Very Bold Radio and Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Stand by for a second. I just want to tell our listeners and viewers, man, I just love where this story came from for Ashley, and so many different elements. And the reason we're called Very Bold Radio and Podcast is because of our love for Jesus, that hope that he gives us to get us through nightmares, to get us through stressful storms, to get us through things. His power is real to help us. And isn't it really beautiful how God took something that was really, sounds like very hard for Ashley, and has turned it into something really beautiful, and getting her through that, and then allowing her artistic and very creative writing come into play. So I just love how God does that. And for us, for me, it's really just looking at just the goodness and love of God. And then out of that, we get to be very bold. And I just love some of your advice, Ashley, about, man, give it a try and just go for it. You can't hold on to it so tightly that you don't get to share it with others. And that's just great advice. So, and we get to do that in part because of our trust of God's plan and of his goodness, of the goodness of Jesus. So we're very bold right out of this scripture. And I close with this, and you can reach me at steve@verybold.com, steve@verybold.com. You can find me on Instagram. I'm not quite as active as Ashley, but we're getting there. You can find me at verybold there, and you can find all the things we're doing at verybold.com. But it comes from 2 Corinthians 3:12. This is what the Apostle Paul wrote. He's a pretty good writer himself. He said this: therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold. And that's 2 Corinthians 3:12.
Therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold.